How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. So today I want to talk about the Grayl Ultra Press Titanium. Pretty cool little item, and I've been using it for a little while now. I finally pulled the trigger on it because it's a little expensive. We're going to talk about the price. Is it worth it? I've been using it in different environments, clearly, as you see now, and other B-roll that you will see it in. And is it worth it, and how does it perform through different environments? It excels at some, it's kind of not that great in others. And I want to discuss all those things with you and see if you can come to a conclusion if this is worth your hard-earned money. And yeah, so let's dive into that. All right, so this technically really doesn't do anything new in the market other than it being titanium, because Grayl has been out there using the polymer or the plastic ones for a little while. I've never pulled the trigger on it because I never thought that they were worth my time, because they kind of did one niche thing. For me, for others, I have coworkers and friends that highly love them, and I don't doubt it. It's just, it didn't appeal to me, and maybe you are in the same boat. So once the titanium model came out, it did appeal to me, but that price tag was hard to get over. So ultimately, do I think that this is worth the price? Well, let's discuss some of the features it can and can't do, and then I think that'll be your determination if it's worth money to come out of your pocketbook. So, benefit, like I was talking about, titanium. So you can use it in multi-different roles, as in you can use it for what it is as a water filter, you can use it as a receptacle to carry good water, and now you can boil out of it as that worst case scenario. Say the cartridge goes bad, or something happens to it, which we'll discuss here in the future just in a minute. You can now boil out of it, so you're not just stuck with this polymer thing that weighs a pound, which just weighs about a pound, 16 ounces, 16.9 if I recall. I wish they made a larger version of this, just because this one's kind of small. 16.9 fluid ounces is reasonable, I guess. But ultimately, I think this is more beneficial to, say, a day hiker rather than someone that is preparing for an emergency situation. Now, if it's a short-term emergency situation, then yes, I would agree that this works fairly well. But long-term, you don't really know. And how do you know if your situation is going to last 72 hours or it's going to last 60 days? Katrina versus, some local situation, power outage, something like that. You don't really know. Now, do I think it's a good thing to have in the mix of things? Of course. So let's dive into the details of what this filter actually does. It's more beneficial than a lot of other filters on the market, to tell you the truth. So like the Sawyers, the B-Freeze, Katadyn, stuff like that. So this one, and I have the packaging right here, so I can pull this directly off of here really quick, is this removes protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. Viruses is the big deal on this, because a lot of smaller cartridge filters do not incorporate removing virus capabilities. You have to get smaller pore size. Typically, they're pump ones. Gravity filters tend not to remove viruses because they're so small. Now, the benefit of how it accomplishes that is by pressure. You put your dirty water, right, which we can open this up. Put your dirty water in this. Here's your cartridge and your filter, right? And then you would put this on here, and then you're gonna compress this against, the ground or whatever you want. And as it goes through, you're forcing that water through a smaller membrane than, say, like a Sawyer Mini or something like that, which does not remove viruses. That's how they get away with removing viruses out of this thing, which is pretty cool. So I think that has one leg up over other cartridges, and you have a self-contained unit, which is pretty cool. I also have an extra cartridge right here, which are fairly lightweight, fairly easy to get. But the kind of downside, I guess you could say, is this cartridge only does 40 gallons or 150 liters, which is not great, but it's not exactly terrible. And that is why I wouldn't rely on this long term as maybe your bug out bag piece or something like that, in my opinion, because of the longevity aspect. There are better items on the market that will allow other items to do more, to help you way more than 40 liters. I mean, you're talking the freaking Sawyer Mini does 100,000 gallons if you back flush. but it doesn't do viruses, so you need another treating method. But that's kind of the downside, is 40 gallons, okay, you know, long-term wise, not the greatest. But I think this thing really excels at that day hiker aspect. That's what I use it for. It rides in here with me. This is just my hiking rig, and it goes up under here in a sleeve. And I can just take this rig and go hike. And if I need water along the way, which I have a stream right next to me, I can just send it, press it, and go, which is really nice. And then in that worst case scenario, if you max out the cartridge, then you can boil in it. So that's kind of cool. Now, one other thing is beneficial about this, and it goes back to the cartridges, is in an environment like this, in colder environments, you are allowed to freeze and thaw this one time, which is beneficial because a lot of other filters on the market don't allow that. Once they're frozen, they're done, they're toast. You need to throw them out because we don't know how it compromised, because of course, when water freezes, it expands and it makes those pores larger. So bacteria and viruses are getting through that. So it says after the second freeze and thaw cycle, you need to disregard this and you need to get a new one. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. It can freeze once, but if you are constantly out here in an environment like this is probably gonna freeze compared to a cartridge filter, right? If you have, let's say, inline as in a Sawyer Mini, you can put that in a pocket, a Sawyer Mini, and keep it heated with your body heat. This is a little more difficult because how bulky it is. You're not gonna exactly keep this up. It's probably gonna be on the side of your backpack, and if it's cold enough, it's going to freeze. And if you're out there for 2 days, it's probably gonna freeze more than twice. So it's not like these are expensive. They're like 25 bucks a filter, but still, I think that's a hindrance, is in colder environments, this isn't the greatest tool to use. Can you use it? Yes. You just have to be mindful where you place it and what you do with it. Unfortunately, I let this one freeze once already, so I'm toast. If this thing freezes again, I'm going to the orange filter down there, which is the replacement, and I'm just mainly testing it. But ultimately, I think it's pretty cool. Now, for the price, $200. $200 for this thing is a little expensive, but that's because of the titanium price. Titanium, you're always going to spend a good chunk of change on because it's an expensive metal. Ultimately, I don't know if it's worth it for you. Could be. You could invest it. I think it is, and I have used it for day hike, and I like having that multifaceted roll. As I can boil out of it if I really need to. If the cartridge gets toast, right, I can boil out of it. But it is also a receptacle, and the viruses thing. The virus thing is kind of the big thing that's like, it's self-contained, and you don't have to worry. So you don't have to treat it with other chemicals. Kind of cool. So you guys are gonna have to come to your own conclusion if you think this is worth it or not for you. I think it is for a day hiker, not in extremely cold conditions. I think it's worth it. I don't think it is going to be used in a survival long-term emergency situation. I would recommend other things, what I've used on this my YouTube channel before, which I'll link them in the description box below, like, you know, a chlorine generator or Sawyer products and stuff like that, other things like that. But ultimately, I think it's pretty cool. I will continue to use it, but it's going to be ultimately up to you if you think $200 is worth it, because there's other things out on the market. This is fairly quick too, because all you got to do is scoop, press, drink. The other thing, you got to set up bags and weight and all that kind of stuff. Is what it is. If you guys like this kind of stuff, want to hear more about other items that I'm using and whatnot, definitely like, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Most of you are not subscribed. It's like 70% of you just watch my videos but don't subscribe. It's free for you to hit the subscribe button, and it massively helps me out. So if you could please do that, that'd be awesome. I greatly appreciate it. And YouTube likes to unsubscribe people randomly because I tend to talk about things that YouTube doesn't like. So it kind of hinders me. So I appreciate it if you just hit the subscribe, really helps out. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day.